In this video, we're going to explore how to create and model a project within LAEP+. The Projects feature allows you to model the impact of changes to buildings, neighborhoods, and in the case of electric vehicle chargers, streets. Projects can be used to assess the impact of electric vehicle infrastructure, heat pumps, and solar panels, and they can also give you indicative assessments of network impact, cost to deploy, and carbon avoidance. For extra context on why this feature is important and use cases, check out the knowledge base article which this video is embedded within. The first step is to navigate to the Project section. This can be done in a couple of ways, either via the Continue Working section by clicking on My Projects, or by hovering over the Map section and then clicking on Projects. From here, you'll see two panels on either side of the map. On the right-hand side, there's some integrated guidance which is quite useful for taking you through the different stages of creating a project. I'd recommend keeping this expanded, although it can be collapsed by clicking here. On the left-hand side, you have the Assess Spare Capacity menu. This allows you to use network capacity to screen potential locations for your project. You can view this data at a primary or secondary substation level and view the network topology as well. You can use the slider to input the size of your connection, or if you know the exact number, you can input it via this field. If you're deploying multiple assets in one area, like in a new build estate, you can put the total connection size here. This can be quite helpful to quickly triage potential installation sites based on the capacity headroom. We can see from clicking on this Show Legend button in the top right that these polygons are colored based on the available headroom, so green polygons indicate that there's over 5% headroom remaining. It's important to note that the areas shown for available headroom or constraint are indicative, so an in-person evaluation of the site would still be needed before any work was undertaken. So, let's say for example we were interested in deploying 4 ground source heat pumps which each are 16 kilowatts, totaling 64. You can see across the map that certain polygons have now changed color because the capacity is now more constrained in these areas. Once you've inputted the desired capacity for the project, you can zoom into the map and find a location that you'd like to test out in more detail. Then, if you'd like to remove the capacity polygons from the map, just untick the box next to Show. The next step is to actually create your project. This can be done via the left-hand side panel by clicking on Create New Project. Then, add a title and description for your project, and a potential year if you have it in mind that the project will be worked on during. You also have the option to add datasets to your project. These can be changed or edited at any time, but they are quite useful to help you run feasibility assessments when adding assets to the map. So for example, in this case, I might want to look at ground source heat pump suitability to help me understand which buildings I should look at applying these assets to. Then click on Create. By default, this project will only be visible to you, but it can be shared with others by clicking on the Share icon next to the project title here. And you can also edit the title and description of the project at any time, or delete it by clicking on the trash icon. Click on your project to start working on it. You'll now see a series of assets on the left-hand side ranging from electric vehicle chargers to ground source heat pumps. In this case, let's say we're still wanting to deploy 4 ground source heat pumps with a total kilowattage of 64 kilowatts. You'll see that the integrated guidance on the right-hand side has updated. It will recommend any potentially relevant datasets based on the technology type you choose to supply additional help to you when triaging potential sites. Now is also a good time to toggle on the dataset we added to our project when we were creating it originally. This will help us understand which properties are likely suitable for ground source heat pump installation. Now, we can see buildings highlighted as gray and green, where green buildings are likely to be suitable locations. It's important to note that this data is indicative and is based on modeling. For more details on the methodologies of this dataset, just click Dataset Info. Now that we have this information, we can proceed with the project for this street. To begin deploying assets to the map, simply click on the asset on the left, choose your size, then click on your chosen location on the map. In this case, I've selected these 4 properties. You can either drop the asset onto the map one by one, ensuring you adjust the size of the asset first, or you can use the building selection feature to draw a polygon around these 4 properties, select your asset and size, and then click on the polygon to automatically apply a heat pump to each building within the shape. Now that we've done that, we can run an assessment of our project by clicking here. On the right-hand side, you'll see 3 tabs appear: Carbon, Cost, and Project Summary. The Carbon tab shows the estimated carbon savings of your project over the next few years, which can be quite helpful for things like aligning with local targets or to be used in funding applications. This data can be exported as a CSV, PNG, or SVG file. The Cost tab shows you the estimated cost of your project based on a meta-study of the cost of the technology you selected and the labor costs for installing that technology. This can obviously vary across different areas and it is indicative, so it just serves as guidance for your planning. And finally, the Project Summary tab is a breakdown of the type and number of technologies you deployed, the locations of each asset, and the total kilowatts of your project. On the left-hand side, you'll see details of how to proceed with a connection request. It's important to note that a project itself is not a connection request, but rather a feature to be used as an indication of feasibility of certain proposed projects. There's also a button in the right side panel to share your project with National Grid. So if this is a project you plan to move forward with, you can let them know. Again, this does not replace a connection request and will not provide any further assessment of your project, but it's a great chance to increase communication with National Grid to allow them to consider your local authority's potential projects in their forecasts and investment planning. Simply complete this form on the right-hand side, then click on Submit Assessment to send the project data to your network operator. The final step is to save your project by clicking here. Thanks for watching our walkthrough of how to create and model projects within LAEP+. Check out our knowledge base for more information, and as always, don't hesitate to get in touch.